So the recommended acts when fasting include suhoor and the hadith for it. It's highly recommended in our religion to consume the pre-dawn meal, and this pre-dawn meal was recommended by the Prophet ﷺ when he says, have a pre-dawn meal because in it there is blessing, there's barakah from Allah, and this will give you the ability to cope with the fasting during the daytime. The minimum requirement for a pre-dawn meal is to just drink water. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said the suhoor is barakah and you should not omit it. Even if one of you only has water, for Allah and His angels pray and send blessings upon those who eat the suhoor, subhanallah. To delay the suhoor is also a recommended act to the best of your ability. So Zayd ibn Thabit, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him, said, we ate the suhoor or the pre-dawn meal with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then we prayed Fajr. He was asked, what's the period between them? So we said it would take about 40 verses to be recited. So imagine 50 verses from the time of finishing the pre-dawn meal to the prayer is called for. Not the adhan, the iqamah. It means it was just before the adhan. Using the siwak, so it's recommended to use a miswak while fasting, unlike so many people who say it's wrong in using the miswak or brushing your teeth while fasting. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that had it not been for the fear that I would burden my ummah, I would have ordered them to use the siwak for every time they make wudu and pray. And there's two different versions of the hadith. And performing umrah is also sunnah during the month of Ramadan, and it's highly recommended to perform umrah. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, an umrah in Ramadan is equivalent to Hajj, great and huge reward. And you hasten to break your fast. So when you break your fast after sunset, you do it immediately and as soon as you can. It's part of the sunnah to quickly break your fast and not to wait until the muaddin finishes the adhan. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the people will continue to be fine as long as they hasten to break the fast. So what's the food to break your fast with? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to break his fast with ripe, fresh dates, and if there was no fresh dates, he used to break his fast with dry dates. If there was no dry dates, he would sip water as per the hadith. It's also highly recommended to make dua. Ramadan is the month of ibadat and worshipping Allah, so supplication is in the core of ibadat as mentioned in the verses between fasting. If you notice that in chapter 2 Surah Al-Baqarah, when Allah speaks about fasting, He inserts one ayah talking about dua. When the people ask you about, say that I am near and I hear the supplication of those making dua. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said there are three whose supplication will not be rejected. One of them is a fasting person until he breaks his fast. So some of the good deeds to do during when you're fasting is reading the Quran, the Hajjud prayer, night prayer, charity, and giving food to the fasting person. In addition to this, doing many other good deeds, reading Taraweeh, helping the people breaking the fast by offering. And Ibn Abbas says that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the most generous of people in giving, and he was at his most generous during the month of Ramadan when Jibreel met with him. Jibreel will meet with him every night in Ramadan and review the Quran with him, and Jibreel met with him. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was more generous than the blowing mind. And using particularly the last 10 nights of Ramadan, as Mother Aisha says that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the last nights of Ramadan, he used to tie in his waist wrapper, his izar, and stay up for the whole night and wake up his family so that they would use this time in worshipping in the night rather than sleeping. The Prophet Muhammad said in an authentic hadith that whoever prays night prayer Qiyamul Layl out of faith and in the hope of the reward, then his previous sins will be forgiven for him. And the disliked acts when fasting is, for example, exaggerating and rinsing the mouth and nose as per the hadith of Laqit ibn Sabura. When you exaggerate in rinsing your mouth and nose, there's a possibility of some of the water going in your stomach, which will impact the fasting. Kissing and being intimate, fondling with your spouse, as this may lead to uncontrolling of yourself. If you're safe from that, then this is fine. Be very careful. Tasting the food is permissible even when you're fasting, because you're not eating, you are just simply putting the tip of your tongue by seeing if there's not too much salt, or not by just tasting it, then there's no problem as long as nothing reaches your throat. Wasting the time by playing an idle pursuits or doing nothing, playing games, watching movies. The fast uninterruptedly for 2 days or more. This is crazy. We anticipate the time of sunset so we can eat, and they wait 2 days or more. Well, in the beginning, the companions used to do this, and this is something that is mind-blowing, but this is what they used to do. what used to enforce this, that they used to see the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam doing this. So the Prophet forbade them from connecting a day to the other during the month of Ramadan or elsewhere. So they complained, well, O Prophet Allah, you do this, so if you do this, but we should be doing it. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I'm not like you. I stay with Allah, and Allah is the one who's feeding me and giving me drink. Meaning Allah has given me the power not to eat food and drink water. When they insisted, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reprimanded them by connecting a day with another day, and on the third day they were totally drained of power. For their look, it was a new moon, so it was a celebration for them for Eid. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if the moon did not appear, I would have made it more continuous for you. It's highly recommended for a Muslim to observe what he says and what he does in Ramadan. So part of the haram and disliked things is to curse, swear, fight, involving things that anger Allah while fasting. If someone were to fight with you or try to provoke you with fasting, you just say to them, I am fasting. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when one of you is fasting, he should avoid quarreling. If someone fights or quarrels with him, he says, I am fasting. And this is where I'm concluding the video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.